what's up, y'all? We're back here with the Eron podcast, and I'm here with my guest, USA National Miss Hoosier State, Kourtney Steppe. What's up?
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So, let's talk about what got you into beauty pageants since you were a young girl.
Yeah, so I actually started in pageants typically late for most pageant girls. Most girls start at like 2, 3, 4. I started when I was a junior teen, so I was about 10, 11 years old. And I competed in the National American Miss system for 3 years, and I was absolutely hooked. Even though my first pageant, I knew nothing. I was completely blindsided, but I knew I wanted to do better and come back. So then I kind of took a break from pageantry after that. In high school, I competed in the Miss Circle City Classic coronation, and I actually ended up capturing that title. So I served as that my senior year of high school. And now I am competing in the USA National Miss system, and I've been doing that since my freshman year of college. And my current title with the system is USA National Miss Hoosier State. So pageants have really changed my life. It's helped me grow into the person that I am, interviewing skills, different things like that. I had my first pageant interview for my first job interview. So I was kind of well prepared for that, and we train all year round for that. So it's been a journey for me personally, but absolutely love it.
So what has it been like being a woman of color and, predominantly white dominated industry?
It's definitely interesting, I will say. But one thing that I have found that I cling and hold on to is the fact that one, there's so many other girls such as myself out there, Black women in pageantry at least, that are still fighting for, Black women in pageantry and all minorities in pageantry. And two, there's a little Black girl looking up to me anytime even when I don't have the crown and sash on, or when I do, that's looking at me and I'm representing the girls that I fight for personally, that don't see themselves represented on pageant stages such as Miss USA, Miss America, or anything. But we also do now live in a current time where several of the world's most prestigious title holders are Black women or minority women. So that's truly amazing. But it's definitely been a journey, and I'm still, dealing with certain things in pageantry as a Black woman. But, we're fighting through that every day. And I encourage everybody to, just keep going, keep pushing. If you've never competed in a pageant, I truly, truly encourage you to do so. So that's kind of my experience with that one.
So talk about going from Pike Township to Cathedral High School. What was that experience like, going from, all your friends to now, one of the top public schools in the country, private schools, in the country?
So it was definitely a culture shock. So growing up in Pike Township, I went to New Augusta for middle school. So we were in a very diverse setting. Everybody was different. You saw people every different day. Then going to Cathedral, it was like culture shock. And then also Cathedral being a Catholic school, it was like, okay, this is really different. But I think both of my experiences contributed to me as a person and being able to network and navigate, but also understand, relate to, and celebrate so many different wonderful people. So Cathedral definitely prepared me more so for college and just being prepared for that. And then New Augusta and my growing up in Pike Township, created a lot of my friend groups. And then also just being able to, again, network and work with and understand with a whole bunch of different people. So both of those experiences captured two things, but definitely both contributed to a lot of things that contributed to me.
So what was it like managing school and all your extracurricular activities? I know you were a cheerleader and you did a ton of great things at school. You were in the gospel choir and all that. What was that like, experiencing that and having to manage it?
So for me, high school, I was definitely involved in a lot, as you said. So I cheered my first 2 years. I was on dance team last 2 years, and then among a lot of different things, like organizational wise, like math league and all that stuff. For me, it was definitely interesting because I felt like I was always doing something. So now that when I entered into college, it was very different because I didn't do a lot I didn't do sports anymore. So it was definitely different. But high school, I felt like I always had something to do. I always stayed busy. So I was having to, juggle a lot of things, but seemed to manage it pretty well. But I'm a very organized person. So I always was writing down things, had my planner on my phone, on paper, all that. So it kept me busy. And I think that was really beneficial for me personally.
So, what made you choose to go to Spelman, an all-girls school, HBCU school? What type of adjustment was that like, and how hard was it to choose the HBCU out of state?
So me personally, I've always wanted to go to Spelman since about 8th grade. I just knew I was going because one of my mom's best friends is actually a Spelman alumna. So she had a huge role in my choice of going to Spelman. But when I visited Spelman my junior year of high school on their campus, I felt absolutely at home and I felt like I belonged there, not only just culturally, but also academically. And I knew I would be challenged, and I was challenged since I walked in those gates of Spelman in 2016. But I think being around so many amazing Black women, all just trying to do better, want better, and be better, and just having the opportunity to not only be the only smart Black girl in my class coming from Cathedral, and just being around everybody that looks like me is really super encouraging. And now that I'm technically a Spelman alumna, it's definitely paved so many ways in my journey, and I'm truly thankful for it. So choosing an HBCU wasn't hard for me because I kind of always knew, but I really solidified it when I went junior year. And I also got to experience homecoming senior year when I was a senior in high school. So it definitely was an experience I'm grateful for, and I absolutely love it.
So what are some of the pros and cons of choosing to go to a HBCU, especially when you were there being a student?
I'll speak for my experience with Spelman personally. I feel like I love Spelman, I really do. But the things that I would say were difficult, and I think that goes for all pretty much Spelman women, were the fact that, you know, everybody's doing so well that you feel kind of pressured to be always doing something or like you're not doing enough. So I think that was the only one part that I really did not like, in a sense, because you always feel like you're not doing enough. But in reality, you know, you're on your own time clock. It's always in God's plan. So everything that God has for you is always going to be meant for you. And nobody can take that away from you. So I think that's the con of being at an all girls HBCU. However, everything else I absolutely loved. I feel like when you're around, again, so many people that look like you, and then you're also in this consortium of also Morehouse College and Clark Atlanta University, then you're around so many amazing people that are all like you. And I think sometimes we get kind of trapped in that little world in the AUC, as we call it. And it's going to be different for me, especially outside of that and going into the workforce again. But being there and being at Spelman is a very indescribable feeling, and I wish everybody could experience it. But Spelman is definitely, it's a place that will love you. It is a place that will drag you. It is a place that will nurture you, and a place that will just nurture you in ways that you couldn't even imagine. So I definitely think Spelman is amazing, but you know, there's always pros and cons to everything.
So do you think going to an HBCU is made for every Black person, or do you think it's only for certain people?
Personally, I would encourage everybody to at least consider going to an HBCU. But again, at the end of the day, you have to know yourself, and you have to know where you fit and where you belong. And if you don't feel like you're at home, or if you don't feel comfortable on your campus, whether it's an HBCU or PWI, you have to make that choice for yourself. So I wouldn't discourage anybody from choosing an HBCU. I think everybody has their place and has a right at their HBCU if they choose to do so. But I definitely think it's up to you, and you need to decide that. But I do encourage everybody to attend an HBCU as a minority, because it just brings you so much hope, and it brings you so much encouragement to be around people that look like you, that encourage you, and to be in organizations that are really helpful towards you, and want to see you succeed. So that's my take on it.
So talk about when you were Miss Circle City Classic. What was that feeling like, you know, being able to be in high school and going to visit all these schools and doing all these talk shows and certain things like that on the radio?
Definitely. So it was definitely a different experience for me, because as I mentioned, I had taken a break from pageantry for about 4 years before I won that title. So it was definitely something I was very proud of. And it really, honestly, it built my confidence back up again, because I had lost the last pageant that I did before I competed again. So it definitely boosted my confidence a lot more, which is why I got back into pageantry. But being the Circle City Classic was a truly amazing experience, because not only did, you know, I walk away with the title, but I also walked away with so many different young women that are, you know, still my friends to this day, and some people that I even go to Spelman with now. So being the Circle City Classic and getting to reign over, you know, the Circle City Classic celebration, and just being able to interview with different people, talk to people. To this day, my favorite part was definitely the parade, and people kept asking me when I was on, the Corvette riding down the street, and they were like, "Oh my God, where'd you get your dress?" And I'm yelling out in the crowd like, "Dillard's, so that was definitely one of my favorite parts, and just being able to see the impact that I had. And again, another one of my favorite parts was after I was crowned, one of the little girls in the crowd came up to me and she just hugged me and grabbed me, and that's still one of the best feelings that I ever have, and that I love being able to do. And still to this day, I am very close with the Indiana Black Expo family. And I attend everything every year. God willing that I have a title, and I always come and help out. But being Miss Circle City Classic was truly a life-changing experience for me, and it truly, again, built my confidence and got me back out in the pageant world. So I'm very grateful for that, and I networked a lot through that experience. So I definitely loved it and will forever live on the Miss Circle City Classic legacy.
So when you're getting ready for a pageant, what are your feelings going into it? What type of things are you doing before pageant, leading up to it like a week before? And, take me from a week before all the way up until it's time to do the pageant.
So I always say a lot of my preparation comes from year round. So I actually have a coach that we work on interview, runway, all-in walking, and just, different stuff like paperwork and stuff. So all year round, I'm actually working on my interviewing skills, being able to talk to people and express myself and my personality in the judges' room, because as most people say, defense might win games, interviews win pageants, because the judges really get to know you. So a week before the pageant, I'm really just kind of trying to de-stress and not make myself so nervous, because at that point, it's in God's hands. There's nothing more that I can do to change the outcome, because God has already chosen the winner and the placements of everything. So a week before, I'm really just kind of de-stressing, taking care of myself, staying away from makeup so I don't have any pimples or breakouts or anything like that, and really just focusing on, making sure that all my wardrobe is set, because you want to make sure everything is pristine and ready to go by pageant day, and just being able to execute the best way that you can. So that kind of takes my week as an example, but pageant day, I'm always listening to really hype music, just to kind of like get my energy up and kind of get the nervousness out. So I always say, if you listen to really hype music, it really makes you want to compete really well. So you typically tend to look a lot more confident, a lot more poised and stuff when you're on stage and you listen to some good music. So that's kind of my pageant routine. I always do that. And I always wear my grandmother's ring. And it kind of brings me kind of comfort and good luck. So that's kind of my pageant ritual.
So, talk about when you happen to lose a pageant. What are your feelings when you lose a pageant? What are some of the things you might have to go through if you lose?
Definitely. So for me, I always say you either win or you learn. So there's something about your performance that either could be improved or that just wasn't up to par. So a lot of times, it is discouraging, and you're like, dang, like I really wanted to win, especially if it's a title that that you really have been preparing for and that you really worked for and you thought you did your best. And I always say, again, give it 110%, but sometimes 110% can also mean that there's also still something you need to work on. So when it comes to interview, you can always get your interview recordings back. And I always look at those usually about a month or so after the pageant, after everything emotionally has died down and I can look at myself from a non-judgmental viewpoint. So I would definitely say, if anybody, as far as losing the pageant or learning the pageant, would be know the pageant system that you're in, work on it, get with a coach if that's what you want to do, even though you don't necessarily have to. I coached myself for 9 years, so everything after that is fine. But I would say just be able to unbiasedly be real about yourself. Pageants really help you to learn who you really are, what your values are, why you're doing it, why you want to win, and what you just think about in life and you as a person. So I would say definitely just taking that time to unwind from the pageant, because it can be very pressurized and just tough for a lot of people, including myself, because I'm definitely my biggest critic. So just, taking that time to de-stress and getting out there and just being like, okay, what can I do better? Even though you may have had a great performance, but what can you do better to really capture that title and make sure that you are the next winner of the pageant?
So talk about what process that someone has to go through to be a part of a beauty pageant? Like, how can they
Um,
join?
Yeah, so I would definitely say there is not a real process. Like I said, my first pageant, I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anything, but you definitely want to do your research. So a lot of times people have this conception that it's only the Miss USA system. Miss Universe is actually under Miss USA, but and then you also have the Miss America system, and there's thousands of pageant systems out there. There's Miss Earth, there's obviously USA National Miss, there's Princess of America. There's so many different pageant systems that fit different platforms. So like for me right now, USA National Miss has an anti-bullying platform called The Crown Cares. And that's something that I'm truly passionate about. And I love being able to go out and do presentations for. So I would definitely say, do your research on the pageant that you want to compete in. Figure out what pageant is best for you. Somebody who competes in Miss America may not like the USA system for, whatever they want to do, or they might not like the USA system, or you might not like UNM, or you might like POA. So I definitely say figure out what pageant system works best for you and aligns with what you're passionate about and what you're able to do, and express yourself in. And one of my favorite parts about UNM personally, other than the platform, is just being able to be around so many different women around the country at nationals, and also just being able to express myself with fashion on the runway, because it definitely has a different feel for the runway competition portion. So just be able to do your research, get it down, and then practice, ask questions, don't be afraid. I'm always available for anybody to ask questions for. So just make sure you do your research. That's my number one tip as far as pageantry.
So how has beauty pageants help affect you positively in your life in general, things such as school and other extracurricular activities?
And I know I mentioned it before, but I had my first pageant interview for my first job interview. So it was a lot more comfortable for me to talk to people about the things that I was good at. And sometimes, especially, I hate bragging on myself, and I don't like to talk about myself a lot. So it was definitely different for me, but it allows you to like hone in on your skills. So for me, pageantry not only grew my confidence, but it gave me interviewing skills. It gave me networking skills. It allowed me to really learn my sense of style and my fashion and how I could express that. And then again, I always say, if you don't leave a pageant with some friends, you're probably doing it wrong, because that's the best part, aside from everything else and being able to make an impact. So I would say just, keep going, keep doing it. Because for me, it has grown me and shaped me into who I am today. And I'm very thankful for that.
So what exactly got you into political science? Why did you want to major in that?
Yeah. So my ultimate goal is still to become a corporate and entertainment attorney, but specifically for large banking corporations. So political science, everybody thinks, and the question I always get is, oh, you want to go into politics? And I personally don't, but I personally like political science, especially at Spelman being a liberal arts college, being in the fact that I wanted to learn how different things work, because there's politics to everything. There's politics to life. There's politics, obviously, in the political system, in news, politics in pageantry, just learning different systems and how to apply those in different ways. So it definitely not only is helping me with my legal field career journeys, but also just being able to experience life in general. And I think Spelman's political science department and just being a liberal arts college again really allowed me to get a very diverse education. I wasn't just taking politics classes and, just international relations classes. I was taking, very different classes at Spelman. So it definitely helped me with a diverse education and allowed me to really be able to expand on different things and learn and apply what I was learning as a poli-sci major, but also applying it to everything else. So that's kind of how I got into that.
So talk about your latest job offer that you got and that you're going to be taking pretty soon.
Yeah, so I actually just accepted a job offer with Cambridge Associates as a junior investment performance associate in Arlington, Virginia, and I'm very excited about it. So I am taking a few gap years off in between going to law school. So I'm very excited about moving to the DMV in August, and I'm very much so looking forward to meeting new people, networking, and really learning and applying everything I've learned in college and life and pageantry all to my very newfound job. So I'm very excited about it.
So how long until your next competition? How long do you plan on, doing competitions?
So that's always the thing that's on my mind. But as far as right now, as USA National Miss Hoosier State, I will be competing again at the National USA National Mixed Pageant in November. It just got moved to Thanksgiving week, so I'm very excited about it. Last year at the National Pageant, I placed top 6, so I'm very excited and ready to come back and hopefully bring the title back home to Indiana. But also just to see all of my friends from last year and meet all the new girls. So that's my next competition. But as far as competing, I do plan to keep competing, good Lord willing. But I do plan to keep competing in a couple of different systems, and I hope to keep everybody updated on that.
So what's your process with going to law school?
So right now, while I'm doing my job, or when I moved to Arlington in August, I plan to just, while I'm working, just keep studying for the LSAT. Hopefully within the next 5 years, I plan to attend law school. My top choices are Pepperdine, UCLA, Stanford, Georgetown, and Howard. So those are my top 5. So I'm really hoping that, the score that I get on the LSAT will show everything and every part of my hard work for that. So that's my journey. Haven't made a decision yet, but within the next 5 years, that's my goal.
For sure. Well, tell everyone where they can follow you at.
Yeah, so my personal Instagram is K_Steppe, and that's K_STEPPE. And my title holder page is UNM_Hoosier State_2020. And that's my personal title holder and all that good stuff. So follow me on there and keep up to date with me personally. And then on my title holder page with everything I'm doing in my community and virtually for Crown Cares, and then also at the National Pageant.
All right. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me.